Chill or Be Chilled by TotalSkeletonTrash. Chapter 11, in which your car gets a new paint job. You told everyone before that you sleep like the dead, but you hadn't realized how true that was yourself until the next morning. For once, there were no alarms, no caterwauling cat, no guilty realization that there were penguins that needed feeding. You just slept. It was amazing. Unfortunately, waking up was less so. When you peeled your eyes open, you were met with an unsettling sight. A single yellow eye inches from your face staring back at you. You're about to yelp when the owner of that eye slaps a wet, webbed palm to your mouth. Undyne really has to stop doing that. After a moment, you nod quickly to show that you won't talk, and she pulls her hand and face away. Only then do you realize your position. You're snuggled up under a blanket, as usual, but you're certainly not in bed. Nope, this is the TV room again. And this isn't your bed underneath you. Nope. That's a skeleton sitting on a couch still holding you, now balanced on his lap. His snoring is so loud that you're surprised you didn't wake up sooner. Seeing how smug Undyne looks, you kind of wish you were still asleep. You shoot her a helpless look, and she relents. Way too easily, she scoops you out of Sans' hold. Sans grumbles in his sleep and tightens his grip on the throw blanket she slipped you out of, hugging it tight to his ribs. She smirks even wider at you. You roll your eyes and point at the floor. She pretends not to notice this and carries you all the way to the kitchen. It's significantly more embarrassing when Undyne carries you around awake than when Sans apparently does when you're asleep. You've lost your fear of waking Sans and are kicking and complaining about halfway to the kitchen, which only eggs her on. "Oh, but Sans was holding you like this," she teases, grinning now, and, to your fury, rocking you like a baby. "And Sans is just your friend, right? So this must be what friends do. And since I'm your best friend, I should really make sure that your legs don't get tired." "Pap, save me!" you bellow as she hauls you into the kitchen, seeing the tall skeleton behind the stove wearing your only apron. Papyrus takes one look and jumps into action, abandoning the bacon and pancakes on the stove to somersault over the kitchen island. You grimace, but he sticks the landing, and pluck you from Undyne's grasp, holding you in her place. She doesn't even try to hang on to you, too busy laughing at the look on your face as you realize that 3 of your 4 house guests have now held you like a small child. You immediately look for Alphys, dreading the possibility that this nightmare would continue, but she's merely snickering in the corner, opening a can of cat food for a very friendly ghost. "Papyrus?" you say, trying to shift onto your back to see his face better. "You can put me down, bud." He gawps at you. "But are you safe from the danger?" he asks urgently. "As safe as I'm gonna be," you laugh. "Unless you let Undyne pick me up again." Undyne jeers at you as Papyrus sets you down. "Human, you should be much more careful," he urges. "My brother was in quite a panic when he saw that you had gone missing last night." Undyne has just crossed over to help Alphys with Ghost, you assume, but her whole body whips around when Papyrus says that. "Where did you go?" she asks, not a little threateningly. "Geez, would you guys freak out if I just used the bathroom or something?" you say, suddenly very interested in making sure that Papyrus's pancakes and bacon don't burn. "Papyrus, is the leftover pasta in some of these But you didn't go to the bathroom, so where did you?" "Oh, Sans! Look everyone, Sans is up!" Your voice is at least 2 octaves too high. The sleepy-looking skeleton yawns in the doorway and smiles at everyone. "Don't worry, bud," he addresses Undyne. "I wasn't gonna let anyone mess with her." "I just went outside." you say petulantly, flipping a pancake. There is definitely leftover pasta in at least half of these. Undine studies Sans seriously for a long moment, then nods. You're not quite sure what they've just communicated with that glance, which, yep, terrifies you. Papyrus is unsubtly sidling to resume his position in front of the stove, until you're forced to step out of his way. Physically. He just nudges you with his shoulder until your socks slide along the hardwood and you're suddenly over by the coffee maker. Sans must have taken off your shoes after you fell asleep, you realize. You admit when you're beaten, and you're worried what Sans and Undine are hatching. So, after quickly getting a large pot brewing, you wander over to Alphys. She's stroking Ghost's back as he eats. The cat needs to take pauses between gulps to purr. Hey, thanks so much for feeding him. He normally wakes me up as soon as he gets too hungry, and he never lets me touch him while he's eating. Alphys smiles widely, then flushes. You just looked so happy while you were sleeping, she stammers, her cheeks bright pink. I didn't want to, wake you. And Ghost led me right to his food cabinet, so I just... You fight not to blush too when she mentions how happy you looked. This, honestly, has to be the worst development of the past 4 days. Your sudden susceptibility to blushing. Maybe, you think unwillingly, you just didn't have a reason to blush before. Well, you did great. Ghost clearly loves you for it. You tell her with a grin. Aw, you can see what Undine sees in Alphys. Sure, she's a little awkward and nervous, but, well, you're in the same boat there. And more importantly, she is kind to her bones. You can see that now, that deep down all she wants to do is good. Then again, the same could be said for all your new friends. Friends. For once, that little voice in your head doesn't say a goddamn thing. Papyrus's great pancakes are now ready for his great friends and brother! Papyrus bellows. Undine jumps up to grab a stack of plates. You notice that last night's dishes are absent, presumably cleaned and put away, and smile to yourself. It's funny. If someone told you a week ago that you'd be okay with a bunch of monsters rummaging through all your stuff, you'd probably have scoffed. Now, it just seemed like the most natural thing in the world. You grab a plate, thanking Papyrus profusely, and, remembering Sans, run to the fridge to make sure that there's extra maple syrup, honey, and whipped cream. You're not sure he'll be interested in the latter two, but it's worth giving a shot, you figure. He gives you a wide, appreciative smile when you sit back down, and pours himself a big glass of maple syrup, then spears a single strip of bacon on his knife, looking at it half-heartedly. You manage to snag one of the non-pasta pancakes. Undine grabs 4 of the pasta ones, looking at you like you're crazy. So thanks for, letting us all stay here last night, Alphys stammers, pulling up a chair. I know it wasn't exactly the plan. You have to smile at her. Hey, I've never had a sleepover party before, I guess, you say. It was awesome, really, guys. You're sure we didn't, overstay our... Alphys trails off. Sans sighs and says, Don't you know Reeds at all, Alf? If she wanted us to go, she'd say so. Oh, as if you hadn't had to hammer that through his thick skull last night. The light in his eye sockets is a little too mischievous for your taste. Hey now, don't tease Alphys, you say, giving him your best responsible adult look. He grins at you and shrugs. He can't help it. He's right, though, you add with a guilty laugh. Of course, you just don't want them to leave, so you're not quite sure how you're going to prove it. Eventually, the time comes. You've all eaten too much, again, and everyone seems to be lingering at the table, unwilling to leave, occasionally passing little pieces of bacon down to the begging cat. Well, I guess we better get out of your hair, Undine finally says, frowning a little and straightening up. But we could do the dishes first. She spies the dishwasher. Oh. Loading it takes no time at all with 5 sets of hands to help. You almost have to chuckle. Undine looks so bummed to leave. You know we'll hang out again at work tomorrow, right? You ask with a grin and a raised eyebrow. She rolls her eyes. That's not the point. Okay, let's get going, sweetie. She smiles at Alphys, getting her lab coat from the closet and helping her slip it on. Bye, loser, she says, running back to give you a hug. You laugh and hug Alphys goodbye too, bending down to do so. You watch them walk down the hall, feeling a little sad. Probably time for us to go too, Sans says, suddenly at your elbow. Gah, that's always unnerving. Papyrus looks at him unhappily. Sans, I am enjoying being here. It is much nicer than... Bro, Sans interrupts, cheeks turning a brilliant shade of blue. We talked about this. Oh no. You stare at Sans, internally imploring him to tell you what's up. He won't meet your eyes. Besides, you and Frisk have a playdate at Tori's tonight. Maybe they could come here instead? Papyrus, Sans says sharply. You clear your throat, but you're not sure it's your place to intercede. Sans jerks his head towards the hallway leading to the garage. Sulking, Papyrus nods. Farewell, human. I had a very wonderful time. You smile at him. Me too, Paps. You're welcome here whenever. Papyrus's skull swivels so fast you can barely track it, an enormously enthusiastic look on his face as he makes sure Sans has heard this. Sans sighs and gives his brother a small smile. We'll come back, bud, promise, he says, shrugging his parka back on and digging his hands in his pockets. Later reads. He pulls a hand back out, waves quickly, and tugs Papyrus down the hall. Oh, later. Awfully cold shoulder from a guy who had apparently held you on his lap all night, you think. Then sigh as you hear the door close in the distance. Man, you hadn't noticed how quiet this place was until everyone left. Ghost meows mournfully at you. Hey, I thought you didn't like other people. You ask the cat. You miss him already? Ghost stares up at you. Yeah, me too, kitty. You mutter. Clang! That's the sound of the metal door to the garage being pushed open so fast that the opener didn't bother to make sure it didn't hit the wall. You jump up, eyes wide, as Sans comes tearing back in so fast that it seems like somehow he's down the hall 1 second and by your side the next. Stay put. He pants, looking frantic. Hey, what? You stammer. He says nothing, glancing around. Hey, what the hell is wrong, Sans? Sans is barely paying attention to you, his eyes searching the room, out the windows, desperate. Sans! Undine peeks her head around the corner and looks at you. Hey, you better come see this. You'd love that car, you think mournfully. It was the first real thing you'd bought with your own hard-earned, legally earned money after you turned 16. It had been used even then, of course, and the thing was practically an antique now, but it had been yours. The vandals had been meticulous and thorough. The soft roof had been slashed to tatters. Something awful and red. You reach to touch it. Don't, Undine whispers, pulling your hand back. Had been poured inside, soaking into the cheap polyester seats. It reeks to high heaven. Your mirrors are all missing. The steering wheel is just ridiculously gone. There's deep gouges all down the body, the work of multiple keys or knives. Each tire is slashed, each headlight ripped out so there's just wires hanging. The windshield wipers are twisted at crazy angles from the window, which has a spiderweb of cracks running through it. There's brown shit, and you suspect that's literal, smeared all over the door handles and piles of it on the floor of the car. On the hood, 2 words are painted: Monster Lover. You have a flash of brief memory of being relieved that you accidentally left the garage open yesterday because it gave you light to get the decorations. Now you're calling yourself 20 different kinds of stupid, feeling the weight of 4 gazes on you. Your stomach lurches, realizing that if your car got wrecked... Are your guys' cars okay? You ask quickly. Sans groans softly. How is that where your mind goes? He mutters. They're fine, Undyne says sharply. Not a single little scratch. I guess this is how things go now, huh? They found out what happens when they pick on us, so they're going for someone their own size. Dirty cowards. Sans growls. He's furious, more so than you are. You're still more or less in shock that someone or someones could have crept inside your garage just a few 100 feet away from the room where you were all sleeping peacefully and done this. That they must have watched you, seen where you were vulnerable, and acted so deliberately. It chills you to the bone. Papyrus is crouched in the corner, looking very, very nervous. He keeps darting glances between you and Sans. Sans is holding stock still, his one eye flashing an unnerving blue. The air is practically crackling around him. You understand now how he could have cleared out a bar full of human attackers. God, even his teeth look sharper, the black of his eye sockets blacker. Stay here, Undyne. Keep an eye on her. I'm gonna find them. He says, way too calmly. Sans, no. You say quickly. They deserve anything that's coming to them. They think it's so easy to mess with a person that lives all alone. They think they can gang up and mess with you. They deserve it. He says lightly, so perfectly casual that goosebumps rise on your skin. You can't. That's what they want. You say quickly. Don't you see this is a setup? She's right, Sans. Alphys speaks up suddenly. She's been silent until now, carefully examining the hood of the car and then all the wheel wells. You wonder what she's looking for, then shudder to think of what else the vandals might have planted on the car. They're trying to make us act. If you find them... I will. They'll be in public, where everyone can see a monster attacking them. They want you to do it. That they want humans to be afraid of us so they can make us go back under. Alphys is in high dudgeon, her face flushed, quivering with purpose. I don't care. Sans spits, the calm facade cracking. I've done it before, doing it again. Undyne, will you keep an eye on her or not? Undyne looks uncertainly between Sans and Alphys. Papyrus takes a small, panic-sounding breath. Sans, no, you say firmly. I don't care about this. I don't care about my car. I'll put in an insurance claim, call the cops. It'll be fine. But you can't do this to Papyrus. Papyrus lets out a soft whine, horrified to be even mentioned right now. His knees are shaking. If they catch you, I don't know what they'd do to a monster, but I'm betting it's worse than just sitting in county jail for a while. You can't leave your brother on his own. You say, clenching your fists behind your back, ashamed that your voice has begun to shake. Sans stares at you, and you count your heartbeats, waiting and hoping against hope that this will work. Finally, he slumps slightly, the light in his eye fading, and he's the same guy you met at the vet again, the one who thinks humans are beautiful for finding shapes in the stars. Fine, then I'm staying. There is no room for argument in that tone. Papyrus lets out another soft whine, burying his skull in his hands. If you're staying, so is Paps, you say measuredly. You can just tell that if you say no, he'll set up camp somewhere nearby, and you prefer him near you, where you can make sure he doesn't snap and take down all the redneck assholes within 100 miles of Mount Ebbet. We should go to your apartment and pick up whatever you need. Sans looks reluctantly at you. Sans, I know you're worried, but I'm gonna have to be able to leave this place every once in a while. I've got work tomorrow. Besides, it's not like this is safer than anywhere else, clearly. He shakes his skull slowly, running his fingers over the smooth dome. That probably wasn't the smartest thing to say. Okay? Then we can call the cops and the insurance people and whatever. Sans takes a long time to think about this, looking around the trashed garage from Alphys to Papyrus to Undyne. They share another long moment of silent communication, and he finally turns to you. Okay. You feel like you've just prevented World War III. Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening. If you liked it, hit the like button to let me know and subscribe to see what I make next. Links in the description lead to the original fic posted on AO3, as well as my Patreon and Ko-fi. If you like my stuff, please consider supporting me. Every little bit helps. Lastly, if you have a request for a recording, whether a one-shot or a series, let me know in the comments. I also do commissions, details of which are on my Patreon. So keep in touch. Bye!